What is the strangest thing you've seen that you cannot explain? Now for the comments. I was driving home from work on the back roads and was driving behind a car that was the same make, model, and year of my car, just a different color. Further down the road, we both get into the turn lane to turn left onto a long straight road with open fields on either side. The car in front of me turns onto this road and I wait for a car to pass and then turn as well. It takes less than 5 seconds. However, when I turn onto the road, the car that had been driving in front of me was nowhere to be seen. This road has no turn-offs, and it's long and straight, so you can see pretty far ahead of you. The car had just vanished, and I still think about it today. I have a dash cam now, but I wish I had had one back then, because I question what actually happened that day. Was sitting in my lounge room alone one night on watching TV. Heard clear as day someone coming up the stairs barefoot. I thought it was just a family member coming up the stairs, but then had the oh fuck realization that I was home alone. For some reason I just sat there looking at the doorway waiting for whatever was coming up these stairs to walk through the door. Heard the staircase creaking and everything. Heard the bare feet get to the top of the stairs, step onto the tiles, and take the 3 to 4 steps it would take to be in sight of the doorway to the lounge room I'm sitting in. But nothing came through the door. Sat there for about 5 seconds waiting. Said to myself out loud, fuck dealing with that right now, and kept watching TV. I've heard other things like glass moving and footsteps and all that, but the second most notable thing I can't explain was me and my mum hearing something talk to our dog downstairs in a mumbled male voice we couldn't understand. If I heard that on my own I'd have just thought it was my brain playing tricks, but my mum also heard it. Was driving home from work one afternoon with my brother and cousin in the car. As we were sitting in traffic I noticed high up in the sky and way out in the distance a small motionless black square. I pointed it out, and both my brother and my cousin spotted it quickly, so I know it wasn't in my head. It just remained still for about 45 minutes, and then the sun had set, and it was too dark to spot it any longer. It just stayed in the exact same spot the whole time, and while it was really far away you could still tell it was a perfect square shape. Once I got home I went online to see if there were any mentions of it anywhere and there was nothing. To this day I still think about it and wonder WTF I was looking at. Fall 2009 I was sick, like super sick. It was a few weeks before my amputation, and I was battling a severe bone infection. I was hopped on all kinds of antibiotics. I had a PICC line and would dose my antibiotics through these little balls and pain medication. I'm a huge Yankee fan, so my best friend got us tickets for the ALCS game at Yankee Stadium. She pushed me around the stadium in a wheelchair with a shitton of blankets on me. It was freezing, just to put a smile on my face. My friend leaves us seats to go get some hot dogs and stuff. This is where it gets weird. As soon as she leaves, to my recollection, an older Irish gentleman sits by me. He offers me some of his spiked hot chocolate, but I said no thanks and explained that I was on a lot of medication. We begin talking, and I told to him what was going on with my life. He asked if I was scared to have my leg amputated, and I told him that I was. I was really frightened of the unknown. He gave me some pretty valuable life advice and comforted me. He assured me that it would be fine. He told me that if you have to be an amputee, try to be the best damn amputee that there is. My friend comes back with food and asks who I was talking to. There's no one next to me. I guess I must hallucinated this, but IDK. It felt more like some kind of angel or being that came to me to let me know it would be okay. I guess my guardian angel is an Irishman with spiked hot chocolate eater. Not sure if this makes it more creepy or not, but the Yankees were playing the Angels in that series. When me and my best friend were teenagers, we were walking home during the wee hours of the morning when a drunk guy basically acted like we knew him and invited us to eat. For some reason, we actually came with him, and we ate at this 24/7 joint, where he told us about his adventures around the world, showed pictures, etc. We hung out until it was around 5 AM and walked home together. I have no idea who he fucking was. I still don't. Went hiking late at night with my buddy when something big and bright flew right over us above the tree line. It was so bright we couldn't even look at it, and whatever it was it didn't make a sound. Actually, it was probably the most quiet moment of my life. I remember saying what the fuck, but no sound came out of my mouth. Only lasted a few seconds, and it was over. As a full-grown adult, I was telling my mother about this house I was in with a dream I had. It was brown, had 2 bedrooms, 2 floors, L-shaped stairs. I went into full detail about this house from my dream. Anyway, apparently the house I described was the house I was born in. Not like, born. I was born in a hospital, but the house my family lived in for 2 years prior to my birth, that we all moved out of when I was 7 or 8 months old. At first I thought maybe my brain got it from pictures I had seen, but honestly the level of detail wasn't shown in any pictures we had of me at such a young age. Mostly they were close-ups, so you couldn't really see the background much. Best guess to this day is my brain picking up really old and obscure memories. Other than that, I'm not sure how TF I knew anything about this house, let alone the layout, furniture setup, etc. A very badass Great Dane I knew, a former neighbor's dog, was so afraid of a month-old kitten that he ran into the deepest room of his home and didn't stop quivering and whimpering for several hours. For context, he wasn't a timid dog. Little over a month before the mentioned incident, a drunk man attempted to break into their home at night and the dog bit half of his left foot off. P.S. Rest in peace, Scoob. When I was young, my parents and I relocated across the country to Maine. We lived in a very small town and our house was old, beat up and on many acres deep in the forest. It had 2 stories, with the top story being the main level and the bottom story being the bedroom level. My bedroom had several large windows that looked out into the forest. I don't remember having curtains or blinds, but I'm sure I must have, because my mother never forgot details like that when decorating my bedrooms as a child. But I must have left them open one night. I remember waking up in darkness, with a faint glowing orb of light hovering just outside my window. I watched it in utter terror as it went slowly across one window, and then the next, before pausing, flashing briefly into my bedroom, before shifting into the third and final window and disappearing altogether. I was so upset by the ordeal that I went and woke my parents up, and my stepfather stormed the backyard with his gun in hand. There was nothing, and no sign of the strange orb. My eyes are watering as I write this. Deep down, as an adult looking back, I realized that orb was anything but magic. It was someone's flashlight. It never happened again, but I'm still afraid of having window blinds open at night. When I worked in the medical field, I had a dream one night about a patient of mine, a very kind elderly woman, whom I visited once or twice a week. In the dream she came to me, dancing, and called out to me that she wasn't hurting anymore. I was so happy watching her dance after seeing her decline for years. When I got to work the next morning, I told my coworkers about the dream, and later that morning we got the call from her daughter that she had passed away the night before. I cannot explain that, but I'm glad I had told my coworkers about it before the call and not after, otherwise they'd never have believed me. Such a bizarre experience, but so wonderful to feel she was at peace. When I was in my 20s in the early 1990s, I had a car accident that kept me in hospital for about a year. It was a Catholic hospital and most of the nursing staff were nuns, and besides the normal checks they regularly just stopped in to chat and see how I was doing. Early one morning there was a knock and this nun came in that I hadn't seen before and introduced herself as Sister Greta, a member of the nursing staff. She sat on the side of the bed and we spoke for a few minutes, then she asked if she could say a prayer for me. She held my hand and said a prayer, then wished me well and left. About 5 minutes later there was another knock and one of the regular sisters came in to say hi. I remarked it was going to be a good day because I'd already had one visit from Sister Greta and now I was getting another one. She said there wasn't a Sister Greta on the staff and there was only 2 sisters around, it being so early. I pointed to the bed, which clearly showed where she had been sitting, and described her and the habit she had been wearing, now getting a bit unnerved. The sister basically shrugged and bustled off. She came back about half an hour later with a book about the hospital's history and showed me a picture of some nuns from the 50s. Their habits were exactly the same as Sister Greta's that I described. Turns out that patients regularly mentioned talking to nuns in old garb that definitely weren't part of the current staff. I never saw her again or anything similar while I was there. Kinda freaky but not overly disturbing. I can't really explain it, but I guess it's the sort of ghost story I'm okay with, if that's what it was. Not so much something I saw, in hindsight, thank fuck, but rather something I heard, that I can't explain. I was staying at my dad's place for the weekend, when I was about 16, and he lived out of town in rural Australia, the kind of place you don't lock doors etc. The house was pretty long, with my dad's room being right at the front of the house in a loft style second floor, and my room was literally down the other end of the house. I would say about 20 meters away down the end of a hallway with a few other rooms and bathroom on the way. It was just he and I there that weekend and I stayed up late on the computer and went to bed about 2 AM, got into bed and started listening to music to go to sleep to. About 2 minutes in, I hear the door at the end of the hall slam shut and I had not closed it. I immediately take my earphones out and went to call out thinking it was my dad when a bedroom door right next to it opened. No one occupied that room at this time and I immediately got that shaky shiver feeling all through my body, knowing something wasn't right and assuming someone had broken in. After about 30 seconds or so of silence, I hear a loud thud on the wooden hallway floor, like a stomp. After about 5 seconds, it happens again, and again. It was in a rhythm. About halfway down the hall to my bedroom, there was a little bit off the side, where the bathroom was, which had an old wooden sliding door, that was extremely loud to open and close. After about 30 seconds of the stomping and the hall stopping, at this point I was nearly throwing up from fear. The bathroom door was reefed open with all the strength you could imagine, like how you would imagine someone to do it in a complete and utter rage. I sat there completely paralyzed, thinking back quote my room is the next stop. I sat, waited, and nothing. I literally sat up in my bed until the sun came up, at which point I ran up to my dad's room to explain what had happened. We go through the house and nothing out of place, all the doors shut, which he had actually locked all but one. My dad said he did not come down, and he has never been known to sleepwalk or anything in his life. I have never been able to come up with a rational explanation of what happened that night. I'm not someone that is much of a believer in ghosts or anything, but that night I just had a feeling that whatever was out there wasn't exactly human. I still don't know who/what that could have been, and why I didn't hear anything after the bathroom door being ripped open. Still get chills telling people that story and even writing it out now. I feel so uneasy. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell for more videos. Also like the video if you enjoy it.